Hey there, this is Eli with ADV Hour, and today I'm going to walk through the differences, my impressions, kind of how I feel about both the stock Norden 901 seat that comes right out of the dealer versus the optional low Ergo seat. And you can find this seat a number of different places online, but I don't think it's actually available at any retailers in the States yet. I got mine from Rugged Roads out of the UK, and it was really great. They sent me the seat, was here pretty quickly, I want to say within a week or so, and overall wasn't too expensive. I think they retail for $150, which for an ADV seat, you can go from anywhere between a couple $100s to much more for a custom seat. And there's a couple different options out there. I did put an order in for the seat concept seat. That was actually just the foam and cover kit. You'd have to take the stock foam and cover off and then replace it with the foam provided and the cover provided. And I have no skills as an upholsterer, and I would be required to put that on, and I'm sure it's not too difficult, but I didn't want to spend my time doing that. And in fact, that was a much higher price point than the seat made directly from Husqvarna. So I decided to, when I got this, to cancel my order, because I think this accomplishes what I'm looking for without any hassle, as well as being able to keep the stock seat, which I knew was comfortable and still very rideable for me. But I do want that benefit of a low, being able to reach that ground a little bit easier for someone of my size. So my inseam is about 29.5 inches or so. So not super limiting, but these bikes, as you'll see, are pretty tall for me. And I'll go through all the pros and cons, but for me, when it comes down to it, the short answer is, if you had to pick one, I would stick with the stock seat. Pretty much every review you'll see online is that the stock seat is super comfortable, and it really is. So I'd rather not give that up if I had to choose one. The low seat really does give you a better feel for the ground if you're looking to be a little bit more planted. And so when I'm taking this, a couple weeks ago I went to the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, all legal roads, but they turn into sand pretty quickly, and it's a ton of fun, really great riding out there. But I had the Ergo low seat and felt like I was really able to keep the bike up a little easier because of the extra reach I was able to get from this seat. So I'll walk you through what those differences look like with me on the bike, and I'm also going to take out a piece of rope and try and get a consistent measurement from sort of the smallest part of the seat here down to the ground, from both the stock and the low seat, and see kind of what those differences are. The low seat, I believe, lists only a 10 millimeter reduction in seat height, but I think what you achieve is a lot more ability to hit that ground or to get more planted on the ground because of the shape and the sort of width of the seat is smaller, so you can actually get your legs around and down easier. In other words, there's more width here on this seat, and it's a little skinnier in this way on the low seat. So even though it's only about 10 or so millimeters in reduced height, you get to the ground a lot easier. All right, so I'm going to show you what it looks like with me on the stock seat. I might move the camera a little bit around, so bear with me. I'm working with one camera and primitive equipment, so bear with me. But I think we'll get a couple good shots that will help explain kind of where I landed here. So very easy to take off the seat. You take your key, turn it right, pop off the pillion seat. I'll just leave this off for the rest of the review, I think. Right. So we're going to stay with the stock seat for now. Take my phone and set it aside. All right. So the stock seat, you can tell for me, I am about on the ball of my foot on the other side of the bike. You might be able to see that. But if I want to get down and really get planted, for me, I kind of need to turn the bars this way not a big deal. There's absolutely no way I'm going to get down to the ground on this side. This is as far as I can go on this side while being planted on the right here. And that's really been fine. I've been almost felt like I'm improving my overall balance on this bike or on any bike now at this point because of how much closer attention I have to pay to when I'm coming to a stop at a stoplight and balancing on those points. As soon as I feel myself going over, I just quickly go over on this side and it's no big deal. So now my leg on this side is nowhere close to hitting the ground, but here I'm pretty planted, and again, you can turn the wheel, kind of a trick there. It gets you down a little bit, if you can tell. Go back up, I need to feel the ball of my feet a little bit. If I turn the handlebars, it's a lot more planted. So if I go up, try to balance on both sides, can pretty much not get to the ground on either toe. Or both toes cannot be at the ground on the ground at the same time. All right. So that's the feel for the stock seat. Now I'll go ahead and switch it over to the Ergo seat. A little bit tricky here. Actually, that fit in quite nicely. So you might already be able to tell that it does have a lower profile here to the ground, and then of course, as I've been talking about, there's less material that gets in your way to get your leg over and your feet on the ground. So you'll see that pretty easily here. All right, so now my foot is firmly planted on the right side, and I'm very comfortable on this side, same thing, but I don't have to turn the handlebars. So that's kind of the added benefit, if you will, if you kind of measure that difference between a straight handlebar and the turn to get down. I'm almost even bending my knee actually on this side, so I'll show you that on the other side. So again, that's pretty planted, very, very, very comfortable. I feel like I have a little bit more room in the seat actually, for between. And if I turn the handlebars, again, I can almost get a bend in the knee. So that's how much more reach you're getting from this seat. So if I go ahead and try to reach both toes on the ground, I'm actually having trouble getting them down on this side too, but it's definitely closer. But I never do that anyway. So I mean, what I'm looking for, especially if I'm going off pavement, is to get at least one foot very firmly planted so that I could, mess around with the bike here and move it out of some terrain that I need to, or help paddle it, or step down if I need to. And this seat really, really helps me do that. So that's the advantage there on the Ergo low seat. Now, first time I took this out on a longer ride, about an hour and a half or so, I immediately felt the difference. My sit bones were just super sore after about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I realized I was basically taking for granted the stock seat, the way it comes. It is really comfortable. But again, depends what you're looking to do. So if you want to spend a little bit more time off pavement and you need that more confidence in getting to the ground a little easier, I would definitely go with the Ergo low seat. If you're traveling far, like I have to, a couple hours to get to a really great gravel roads or dirt roads, then I might even stick with this with the stock seat. And I did that last weekend. I took it about an hour or so to get to some nice roads, and there wasn't a lot of stuff off pavement, so I felt like it was the right decision. But if there were more gravel roads, I would have probably liked the benefits of the Ergo low seat. So let me move the camera around just a little bit so you get some different angles. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to start again with the stock seat. Okay. And hopefully you can see my foot here. So stock seat, this is as far as I can go. I have to keep my leg pretty straight on this side in order to feel like I've got kind of a planted stance. Versus the low seat, I've gotten a lot of practice putting it off and on, so that was pretty quick. And you can see as a comparison, I can get a little bit of bend in this knee and still feel really planted. So that's the difference. All right. So what I want to do is take a rope and I'm going to try to pick the slimmest section of the seats on both of them. It might not be in the same exact position, forward or rear, but if I'm trying to go for the maximum effect here, the lowest I can get on that seat being the stock seat, and the lowest I can get on the Ergo seat, I'll try and keep that consistent. So I'm going to go from the exact middle of the bike, where the width is the shortest or the slimmest, and try and take this rope and pull it down here. Now, right now, this is on its side on the kickstand. So what I'm going to do is jack this up so we have a straight bike, straight up and down bike, and pick the same spot on the floor to measure against, and hopefully we'll come up with some good results. All right, so here's about where my foot's coming down. And if I was going to go here, getting some higher seat, I'm going to say I'm going to mark right about there. Top right, okay. Okay, so now I've got a marked spot where my foot would go down. Got the bike straight up and down. Now, since it's jacked up a little bit, it might not be exactly how the bike would land, or sort of its stance would be, if I was on it putting some weight on. So this isn't going to be a measure of the ground, the distance between the seat and the ground. It's just going to be a relative difference on how much you gain towards the ground from this, the contour of this seat as well as the lower padding, essentially. So let's start with the first, the stock seat. So again, for each of these measurements, I'm going to take kind of the slimmest portion of the seat, which I think is about here, and the middle. So I'm going to tag that right there. And the distance from there to the ground, which incorporates how much your leg has to kind of maneuver around the seat. And from this, I'm measuring about 39. Okay, about 39 inches. Okay, so the stock seat, the contour from the middle down to our point on the ground, this blue spot, it's 39 inches, so that's the number to beat for the low seat. Seems good. Flush. Alrighty. So again, we'll try and take the slimmest part of the seat here and the middle. Go straight down. Alright. 39 is the number to beat, and we're measuring this at about 38. All right. So I'm really glad that this experiment sort of gave these results, because when you look at the description on the websites for what this seat provides you, I've seen it described two different ways. One was a 10 millimeter reduction in the seat height. Now that's probably true. Let's do some calculations real quick, since I'm not used to the metric system. So we'll do 1 inch to millimeters. I think that's 30, something like that. 25, okay. So we're trying to solve for 25 millimeters. I've seen two different places on descriptions of different vendors who are selling the Ergo low seat. One of them says that there's a 10 millimeter reduction in seat height. And that's pretty much just the reduction in the amount of padding that's in the seat. And again, like I said, you definitely feel the reduction in the padding. But then we've got to make up for another 15 to 20 millimeters of reach that I'm calculating here. And that's achieved by the slimmer profile of the side of the seat, allowing your leg to get closer and down quicker to the floor. So I've also seen it, like I said, one place describes 10 millimeters of reduction in seat height, another one describes that the seat overall achieves a advantage of 30 millimeters. And that's essentially the 10 millimeter reduction in the foam, plus the additional reach that you get because of the shape of the seat. And that's pretty consistent with what I'm measuring here. Like I said, I'm showing about a 25 millimeter reduction in seat height, and that's about a full inch here. So that's what we were really getting with the Ergo seat, the Ergo low seat. And again, I think it's really worth it if you need that extra clearance or that extra reach for yourself on off pavement roads that you might be doing. You're going to sacrifice comfort for sure, but maybe like me, you get this for $150 and you can mix and match. You can take the standard seat out for a long ride. It'll be very comfortable for many hours. Or you can take this and try and hit some gravel roads, some dirt stuff, and be a little bit more confident, especially if you're a shorter rider like me. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any other questions about the seat, happy to answer any of them. Feel free to leave a comment below. And a couple other things that I've done to the bike that I'll go into a little bit more detail on. Put the double take mirrors on. I installed the quad lock, which I've always had on the back of my phone, but wired in the wireless charger, which has actually been really awesome. Never had that on a bike before. And right now I'm plugging that into the USB plug through the 12-volt outlet on the dash. I might end up doing that instead and putting that on the GPS mount. The GPS mount I know is great for like the Garmin Zumo, which I might get at some point, but I don't quite need that yet. I did get the Hepco and Becker hand guards, which I really love. I had a set of these on my 750 GS that I had right before this bike, and love the fact that you keep the design here, the intended design, if you will, of the plastic hand guards, but you beef them up in strength there. I get the AXB skid plate on there. I did the Rottweiler Performance retailer sells the KTM racks, and the Moscow Moto bags are really awesome. So a couple other things I could definitely talk about. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them, and feel free to leave a comment. You can like the video and subscribe if you'd like. I'll try and continue to post more content, not just reviews, but I'm going to take the camera out on a nice ride this weekend and do some moto vlogging. Got a mic linked up now to my helmet, so that should be pretty fun. So thanks for watching, and take care.